Okay, today is my birthday, the evening of July 23rd, as I'm making this video. And as usual, I do my videos just right off the cuff, unscripted. And part of my hobbies is I collect flags. And I'm a big geography fanatic. And I love learning about other parts of the world. And if I was to travel about again, and if I had the options open, I would definitely go through ex-Soviet Central Asia in the different countries. They also call them the stands. So this is Kyrgyzstan, and they have their local languages. Like this area speaks Kyrgyz, along with Russia is their standard form of communication. And all those the countries that I'm going to mention, they have Russian as their lingua franca, their primary language, for intercommunication, and then they have their local language. And when it comes to learning languages, I mainly settled on Russia because, especially that former Soviet sphere of influence, Russian is very handy. Я говорю чуть-чуть по-русски. Мне нравится Россия. And so I get plenty of language practice, and I wouldn't have the language barrier like if I went to Japan. And of course, they're Asian people. They're very, what Americans would say Oriental looking. But they're pretty much a Mongolic-based culture. They're kind of offshoots of the old Mongolian Empire when it started breaking up. And the languages are mainly Turkic-based, are they're in the Turkic languages group. So again, this is Kyrgyzstan. And one of the traditions that they're infamous for is called, bride kidnapping. And it's exactly what I said. They see a random woman and they like and kidnap her, and yep, she's part of the family, whether she likes it or not. But that's pretty much been fading. They're trying to curb that as much as possible. Anyway, the beautiful design. And this is, if I was to go to any of the Central Asian republics, this is Kazakhstan. And they have their language Kazakh, and I'm not going to lie and say that I want to learn Kazakh. I mean, maybe I'll pick up, some little tidbits here and there, but I stick with Russian because that's a useful language or in that particular part of the world, and I don't have the brain capacity to hold all these different languages as much as I'd like to. So I'm not going to learn, how would you say, Bashkur or Tuvan or Yakutsk, when I'm in the Russian Federation. Same for Central Asia. And I'm not denigrating the languages, but I do think it's a beautiful culture. Of course, horsemanship is a very big part of their culture. It's like if you don't know how to ride a horse, you're retarded. And again, these are remnants of the old Mongol Empire that stretched from the basically from one end of Asia all the way into Eastern Europe. So, and they have a lot of influence culturally. The Tartars are leftovers in Ukraine from, again, remnants of the greater Mongol Empire before it started to fall apart and break up. And after Genghis Khan passed away, it was, the sons obviously don't have the charisma and clout to really hold it together. And there's the sun, there's the eagle, and one of the things they do is a traditional sport is hunting with eagles, and these eagles are huge. They're gigantic. They're just gigantic raptors, birds of prey. And they're very, very beautiful to watch. Again, they have And the people I would say look Oriental, especially in Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, even Uzbekistan. A lot of ethnic Russians that remained. They're part of the national makeup of the national identity of Kazakhstan. And again, it's like a subset of the Mongol culture. There's a movie called Nomad, and Mike Dacascos plays he's like the villain, but it shows the Kazakh culture. And I watched it in Russian, and then I saw it in English. But I thought it was a real, neat look into that part of the world that a lot of us, especially Americans and other people, don't really learn about. And when I was a kid, the Soviet Union, that was all Russian. I didn't know the difference between a ethnic Russian or a Ukrainian, or a Uzbek or a Kazakh or Yakut. I didn't really know a lot about that, So that's why I'm a huge geography fan, because I've always, I didn't know this about that part of the world. Okay, and this is Uzbekistan, major country, and their main city's Tashkent. And I was there. I could take a train direct from Almaty to Tashkent, but I have to go through the border check. It's not like I'm in the EU. I have to go through a real border check, and hopefully I don't have anything they find objectionable in my baggage. Uzbek language, Russian language. Again, because they're a Turkic people and they're mainly descended from a nomadic culture, hospitality, just like in the Middle Eastern culture, there's a big emphasis on hospitality. They're relatively friendly to outsiders. It's not like you go to Japan and everybody's trying to dodge you because you're a gaijin, or even South Korea. They tend to be kind of xenophobic, even though they are in like a soft superpower as far as pop culture and music. Korean cinema has definitely taken the world by storm. But in these cultures, even though they're relatively insular, because they're landlocked countries, and it was part of the Silk Road, going way, way back. So there's an emphasis on hospitality, because that's how you close business deals. You want to make them feel nice and warm, nice and welcome, because if you treat them like crap, then there goes your investment options. And this one is probably the strictest and most closed of the Central Asian nations, Turkmenistan. And can't remember the name of the lead. Is it Turkmenbashi? They have a special book. It's almost like North Korean has like their Juche ideology. He has this book. I think it's called the Runma or Rana. I think it's the Runma, if I pronounce that right. But hypothetically, if I was to, visit, I'd love to get that book, an English edition, if they have it for tourists. I love getting all kinds of books, from all over the world, even if I don't know how to read that language. And again, I can communicate in Russian because, I'm not going to burn the midnight oil to learn Turkmen. Maybe some nice little phrases here and there so I sound courteous and polite. But it's a very closed country. No black cars are allowed. And all cars have to be white, if I'm correct. And the city is pretty much a showcase city, almost like, Pyongyang in the desert, give or take. So it looks like typical indigenous tapestries. And you need special permission to get in. You can't just, it's not like I want to just casually land in Almaty, Kazakhstan, and I can just, clear customs and, don't make trouble and have fun shopping at the bazaar. And of course, religiously, they're superficially Muslim, and it's a relatively liberal form of Islam, not like Iran or under the Caliphate. So Turkmenistan, yeah, they have like special tour groups. It's like if you want to visit North Korea, that same company also, Koryo Tours, they offer itineraries for the stands, especially Turkmenistan. This is Tajikistan, and as I said, like these countries, their languages are Turkic based. They're part of the Turkic group. They're kind of there's Turkey, more to the west, and then their cultural cousins, are this, especially Turkmenistan and Tajikistan. This is Tajikistan. This is the one that I still know the least about, but at least I can somewhat get around with Russian. And especially the generations, like after the X generations and the millennials. Yeah, the newer generations, they don't really speak Russian because they've really went back to asserting their local national culture and identity. So there's not as much enthusiasm to use Russian as today, especially, and probably the next set of flags I get, I'm going to get the Caucasus, and that'll be interesting. Okay, and so here's Tajikistan, and that's for former Soviet Central Asia, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan. Okay, and over and out. I hope I didn't bore you to death.